Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy. Today's going to be a piece of maple. Nothing special about it. It does have some bug holes in it. It has this small crack right here. It has a crack near the top that I've filled with CA, put it in the vise, clamped it down for a while, so I think that's gonna stick with us. I don't have a particular shape in mind. I'm thinking I may use a texturing tool on here. I may use color on here to try and bring out something besides just the maple color. It's not spalted that I can see. I don't know if we're going to go with a wide rim. It's going to be a bowl. I don't know if it'll have a wide rim, narrow rim. We're just going to find out what it wants to become. So we're going to be turning at 730 RPM, mask and face shield on, freshly sharpened 5/8 inch bowl gouge. Stand by. Picking the speed up to about 900. Okay, I think that's good. I have to finish defining my tenon. In some recent comments, I think it was maybe the last video or the one before, I can't remember. Some viewers pointed out to me that the Nova checks call for a straight tenon rather than a dovetail tenon, as I have always used for 5 or 6 years now. I've been using a dovetail tenon, but they pointed out no, Nova calls for a straight tenon. Well, that's true. The jaws that I'm using for this particular tenon are indeed straight. They have a little lip on them that will go up against this almost, and then grab that straight tenon that I just created, no dovetail, and dig in and hang on. And I believe that that will work. It's real difficult for me to do it because, like I say, for 5 or 6 years now I've been putting a dovetail on these tenons, and I've never had one fail. However, that's true of, like I say, that's true of the jaws that I'm using today, that this will fit in, and I'm going to give it a try, and I'm sure it'll hold just fine. However, on my larger jaws, these do indeed have a dovetail. It is not just a lip. And if I open this up for you, I think you can see there that there's a dovetail right along there. You see that? That's not straight. These are what they call their power grip jaws. Has a dovetail on the outside, comes down here about 3/8 of an inch, and a full dovetail on the inside. And I guess the reason they call them a power grip is they also have these serrations way down inside there. So you can use like about 1 1/4 inch tenon on there if you need to. But these are dovetail on the inside, not just a lip. So hopefully that's coming through visibly. So I think it's just the standard jaws, maybe other jaws, that just have a little raised area right here where it's not a dovetail. Little raised area and then straight sides. So that's what we're using today, and I'm sure it'll hold. But to be honest, it makes me nervous because I've never done that before. Okay, I think we are ready for sanding this piece. The top part here and the bottom part here and this area. So I will get set up for sanding. I still don't know what kind of finish will ultimately be on here. Finish or color or whatever. Paint, maybe. I don't know. But this sanding sealer that I'm applying will accept anything except dye. You can't put dye over the sanding sealer, but I don't have any dye anyway, so we're good there. So I thought I'd put a couple of coats of this on before we turn it around. Got a real nice 400 grit finish on, and I'm pretty happy with the shape, the profile of the outside of this at this point. Don't know what I'm going to do on the top, but we're not to the top yet. We'll just figure it out as we go. This piece is going to require some hollowing. Get out into these points here. So that's the first coat, and I'll bring you back when it's time to turn it around. Looking good. I've put 3 coats of sanding sealer on, and it's not a finish, but it looks like a finish. It's just nearly flawless, and I'm real happy with it. I'll probably go with shellac as a final finish, but since I don't know what I'm going to do as far as color, if any, or decorations, if any, just don't know until I start working on the top side, the inside. So let's get this off the woodworm screw and turned around and take off that tenon. So I don't know if we're going to go with a kind of a wide lip here and a narrow opening, or if I'm going to open it up all the way. I just don't know. Who knows? We'll just play along as we go here. Got that straight-sided tenon, and as always, I like to bring up my tailstock and press the tenon into the chuck before I tighten it. That way it's well centered and well seated, and there's just no issues. And that's good and snug. I probably don't even need tailstock support. That's such a good fit, I think. And I'll get my mask and face shield on and my bowl gouge, and we'll get to turning. We're turning at 740 RPM. Okay, now what are we going to do? I talked about a lip around here, small opening. If I left the lip, that would probably be what I would decorate, or just take it from here and start hollowing out. I don't know. What's your vote? What? I can't hear you. Well, I guess let's start hollowing and see where that takes us. Oh dear, oh dear. I guess I tend to make more practical pieces, useful pieces, rather than artwork generally. So I'm inclined to come all the way over here and hollow it out so that you could actually use it as a bowl. Maybe decorate this edge. Or I could put a decoration over here. I just don't know. I don't usually do, this is what I would call a finished piece, a piece that doesn't have bark inclusions and big cracks and crevices and natural edge and that sort of thing. I don't do a lot of these, so I don't know what I'm doing. Well, it's a puzzle, isn't it? What would you do? I can't hear you. Well, here's a thought that's just occurred to me, and a few thoughts have been occurring to me over the past day working on this. What if I painted this black or some color? Let's say black. Sand it all up, paint it black, just this rim, and then take my texturing tool and see if I can put some kind of a swirl on there through the black so that the maple would show through the black. What would that look like? And then just hollow it out from here down and back this way. That might look good. I don't even know what kind of paint to use. I know some guys use acrylics. I don't even know what acrylic is. I don't do this kind of thing. Put it on with a paintbrush, I guess, or a rag or something. Well, okay, let's leave this for now and do a little hollowing. Well, I can't do a lot of hollowing because I need the support of this wood for texturing this, I would imagine. I don't want to go too thin. I could hollow out the middle part here, but I can't go back that way. And I'm going to have to go to the store and buy something, some kind of acrylic paint. I don't know if these bug holes are going to, bug tracks are going to mess up my pattern that I might put on there. Well, I don't think I've ever been at a loss for what to do next. So I've changed my normal sanding pad, which is a real soft foam pad, to a hard pad because I want this to be flat. So I'm going to sand that up through 400 grit just like I did the bowl. And I went to a craft store and I bought this. And it's supposed to be acrylic paint. And it has this applicator. There's like no instructions. I talked to the gal in the craft store, told her what I was doing. She says, yeah, that should work. She says it's a gloss finish. I'd rather have a semi-gloss or a satin finish. But this is what they had. I also bought this acrylic paint in a tube for a total of $1.97. This cost 10 bucks, but it should be easy, and I'm after easy. I'm all about easy. This is black, lamp black, so I suppose that's flat black. I don't know. Both of these are water-based, so we'll just have to see how it goes. So let me get my mask on here. I'm going to sand this starting with 100 grit because there's a little punky area right here. Other than that, it's pretty smooth. I am worried when I apply my texturing tool about these bug tracks, bug tunnels right here. Might mess up. Also have a bug hole over here. But the good news is if none of this works, I can just plane it off and start fresh with some other idea. So let me get my mask on here and I'll get to sanding. Well, I shook the heck out of this stuff and I let it sit upside down for a while and nothing happened. But what I did do is I pushed on this and that seems to cause the paint to come out. So I guess I have to apply quite a bit of pressure here. Maybe I have to pump it. I don't know. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, there's those bug tracks. That's a problem. I don't know how quickly it dries or if you should recoat or what. Well, it doesn't seem to be glossy. I thought it was going to be. She said it was glossy, but it's drying pretty fast here, and it doesn't look glossy. I checked this. It's good and flat. I don't know why it's not, and it's quite smooth. I don't know why it's not covering as well as I think it should. I don't know if I should apply a second coat in a while, or right now, or what. Who knows? Well, it looks like it's covered, so I guess I'll just let it dry. I went with black because I wanted the biggest definition I could get between the color of the maple and the black, or whatever color I used. They had many, many, many colors. Well, I'm going to go in and cook dinner, and we'll see what this looks like in the morning. Don't go anywhere. Well, the paint has dried. I'm not sure that I'm that happy with the way it dried. It's not real even. That's probably me applying it. I am still worried about these bug tracks here, but I'm going to go ahead and apply some texture. So I have this Sorby texturing tool, and I'm just going to go here, maybe, I don't know how much I have here. It looks like about 1.25 inches. I'm going to go about 3/4 of an inch so that I leave some on each side that's untouched. We'll see how that looks. I'm going to be turning at 400 RPM. I've done this before, but not much. I think this is the 3rd time I've used this thing, and probably a year in between each time. So let's see what happens. You're supposed to be on center and then tilt it down. This has a beveled edge on it. The top edge is beveled, the bottom edge is not. You just hold it against it and move it to where you want to move it. Well, that looks okay. It looks pretty much like what I had hoped it would look. I was right, of course, about this. The bug tracks messing it up, messing up the pattern. And there's a hole over here. So I've got some choices to make. I could go over that again because I see it didn't go all the way through the black here. Very little. Other places it was heavier. I have no idea why. Maybe the paint was thicker here. So I can leave it as is. I can go over it again. I could just wipe out the whole thing and not do any part of the coloring or texturing. I think I'll go over it once more and see if I can get it a little bit better somehow. Yeah, I don't know if that looks good. And then I should cut an outline on this edge and on this edge. Just a little groove in there to offset it or help it stand out, I guess. But if I cut that groove, then that's the more that I have to remove if I decide to wipe this all out. It just doesn't look great. But again, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll go ahead and cut that groove. I guess the most I'll have to take off is like 1/8 of an inch or something. So I'm just going to take this little 1/4 inch spindle gouge and just cut here and cut here. I don't think it looks very good. I will say the black part looks better. It's pretty evenly covered around the outside and the inside ring there. It might actually have looked better with, say, blue or green or something other than black. I just wanted the most contrast I could get between whatever color I used and the maple wood. I don't know, somebody might like it. Here's the bug tracks. They don't stand out quite as bad as I thought they might at this point. But it just isn't great, is it? What to do? Well, I guess I'll take a picture of it and go ask the wife. I think she's gonna hate it. I'll be back. Well, my wife says it's not perfect, but neither's the wood. Talking about these bug tracks in here. And there's a hole or two. So she says, you know, it's different than anything else you've done, and that's true. So I guess I'll go ahead and hollow this out. I can always wipe this out later if it looks like it needs to be. But I'm going to go ahead and hollow this out, and that's probably going to take quite a while because I'm going to have to get my hollowing tool out to get back in here. And I'm not very good at that, so, but how are you going to get good if you don't do it? So I'm going to get my mask and face shield on here, and we're going to get to hollowing this bowl out. 930 RPM. I'm far from an expert on hollowing, as in I never do it. I have this hollowing tool. This is an Easy Wood Tools CI5. I think this is their, what they call their medium hollower, because I just didn't know what else to get. And the idea is just set it so that it's dead center, and then when in use you tip it down just a touch. I guess that's the idea. So I should be able to get way back in here, all the way around the bottom. I should be able to do the rest of this with this. I don't know what kind of finish it's going to leave. I have used it before. I don't think it leaves the best finish. I'm not a real carbide fan. I'd rather get in there with my bowl gouge, but you just can't. You just can't get back in there. So you got to use something, and this is what I'm going to use. And I guess I'm still turning at 930 RPM. You have to keep the flat part of this chisel on the tool rest. So that means the tool rest has to be back here, away, to keep the flat part on. They actually put a guide on here. This is the part that has to be on the tool rest. And I'm right at the front part of that. In fact, maybe I should even come back just a touch, but I guess it's okay. Let's give it a go. Well, I can see this is going to be pretty boring for you to watch. It's just going to be a matter of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and hollow this out with the camera off, and I'll bring you back when I get it done or near done or something. Well, it's been about an hour and a half with my hollowing tool, and you're welcome that you didn't have to watch all that. So now I've got it hollowed to 1/4 inch in the bottom and about 3/8 inch on the sides, and that's kind of the limit that I can do with this hollowing tool, because when I get over here it wants to hit this little gooseneck right here, wants to hit the edge of the ball. So I can't really do much more than that, but I'm satisfied with that. What I'm going to do now, because this did leave a pretty rough edge, rough surface I should say, I'm going to take my round nose scraper and go in there and scrape as much as I can. I can't get up here, of course, but I can get over into that corner. That's about as far as I can get right there. So I'm going to do that next. That did a pretty good job. It's a scraper, so it's not going to be a nice smooth cut, but I'm pretty happy with that. That's way better than it was. So now sanding. Yippee skippy. I don't know how I'm going to sand this. I guess I'll go in here with my 2-inch sanding disc and get as far as I can get. And then I guess I'll have to hand sand up this way, up to probably here or so. So sanding is next. Well, this isn't going to be too bad. Obviously, I cannot get beyond the middle portion here, so I can't get up this way. I'll have to do that by hand, but now I have this smoothed out so it's not going to tear me up. So I'm starting with 80 grit, and I will sand up through 400 grit, and then sanding sealer on the inside, 2 or 3 coats, and I'll be back. Okay, here's where we are. Done. I have to turn it around and take the tenon off. So this has 3 coats of sanding sealer on it and 2 coats of shellac. The inside has 3 coats of sanding sealer and 1 coat of shellac. So now it's time to turn this around and take off the tenon. That tenon. So in this case, I have a block of wood that I'm going to screw onto my woodworm screw. It's not really a jam chuck, it's just to support the inside of the piece. And then I will put this on, and then the bowl over that, and bring up the tailstock. And I still have my center point there. So hopefully, with a little messing around, a little jiggling, actually that feels pretty good already. And a little bit of pressure. And I just like to spin this and put my thumbnail over here and see if it's hitting equally all the way around. And I think you can hear that it is pretty good, pretty darn close. And then we'll take a bowl gouge, maybe this 1/2-inch one to get started here. A little more speed, about 600 RPM. Now I'm going to switch to a swept back gouge. Adjust my tool rest here so I can get it a little bit closer. Turn the speed down a little bit so it doesn't get away from me. Okay, you can probably see a little bit better now. So I'm just going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl and press towards the headstock and cut this tenon off. And once that little nub stops turning or disintegrates, which happens sometimes, then I will just be holding the bowl up here with the pressure of that bevel. When I get close, I'm just doing it one-handed like that. Left hand on the switch, and I turned it off. And so now I just have this little bit, this 2-inch area to sand. And I'll do that over here on the workbench. Well, for better or for worse, there we have it. One maple bowl. Hollow form, I guess. Inside's larger than the outside. There's the bottom all finished up. And again, this is ended up being 9 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches tall. Would I do it again? I just don't know. I don't think so. I think this would have looked better in hindsight with a color instead of black. Maybe green or blue or I don't know. I don't know. It's just not my thing, but I wanted to do something different and I did, and there it is. And a lot of the problem is we can call them natural defects, the bugs that got into this. That's part of the problem. We got a couple of holes over here, bug holes and bug tracks. So that kind of messed up the pattern. And then the fact that this bug track comes clear into the actual opening. But, you know, it's different. I'm done with it. Time to move on to something else. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you may consider becoming one. I put out regular videos, about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.